In the early months of 1945, the momentum of World War II had decisively shifted in favor of the Allied forces, marking the dawn of a remarkable phase of victory. Allied advances were not only measured by territorial gains, but also by significant strategic breakthroughs that rendered the Axis powers increasingly vulnerable. These triumphs were the culmination of extensive planning, superior coordination, and a keen understanding of the geopolitical landscape. A key figure during this pivotal period was Winston S. Churchill, whose insights and strategic decisions greatly influenced the course of events. Churchill's leadership, often characterized by resilience and an unyielding determination for freedom, played an instrumental role in shaping the strategies that led to Allied success. Among the most notable strategic decisions was the relentless push through Western Europe, spearheaded by coordinated efforts from the Canadian, British, and American forces. This multi-pronged offensive was critical in breaking through Nazi defense lines and reclaiming occupied territories. The significant military operations in early 1945, such as the Battle of the Bulge, underscored the Allies' ability to counter severe German offensives and swiftly transition to powerful counterattacks. Churchill's perspective on these events highlighted the importance of unity among the Allied forces, emphasizing how collaboration and mutual support were vital to sustaining the momentum needed for victory. His unwavering resolve and diplomatic finesse facilitated crucial alliances and maintained a steady morale among the Allied nations. Politically, Churchill was acutely aware of the necessity to balance immediate military objectives with the long-term vision of a stable post-war world. His thoughts during this period reflected a deep consideration of the broader implications of each military victory. Churchill's speeches and writings from this time often conveyed a dual focus, celebrating the hard-won victories while simultaneously preparing for the complex task of post-war reconstruction. Churchill's reflections on key military events, such as the crossing of the Rhine River and the liberation of concentration camps, offered profound insights into the human and moral stakes of the conflict. He consistently underscored the significance of these victories, not just in strategic terms, but also in their liberation of oppressed peoples and the restoration of fundamental human rights. In summary, the dawn of victory in early 1945 was a period marked by significant Allied successes, both on the battlefield and in strategic planning. Churchill's leadership and perspective provided a guiding light through these critical months, ensuring that each victory was a step towards a freer and more just world. As the Allied forces advanced, they did so with a clear vision inspired by leaders like Churchill, whose strategic acumen and determination were pivotal in turning the tide of war. And sacrificed by the Allied forces. By early 1945, the war in Europe had reached a critical turning point. The final battles leading to the collapse of the Third Reich were intense and marked by determined resistance from the remaining forces loyal to Adolf Hitler. The Allies, having gained significant ground throughout 1944, launched a series of offensives that eventually breached the defenses of Nazi Germany. One of the key military operations in this decisive phase was the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler's last significant counterattack in December 1944. Despite initial German gains, the Allied forces managed to repel the offensive, leading to a swift advance into the heart of Germany. By March 1945, the Allies had crossed the Rhine River, a formidable natural barrier, signaling the imminent defeat of Hitler's regime. As Allied troops pushed deeper into German territory, they encountered the harrowing reality of the concentration camps, exposing the full extent of the Holocaust. The liberation of these camps was a sobering reminder of the atrocities committed under Nazi rule, reinforcing the moral imperative to dismantle the Third Reich. In April 1945, the Soviet army, advancing from the east, encircled Berlin, leading to the final confrontation in the German capital. The Battle of Berlin was one of the most destructive engagements of the war, with fierce urban combat resulting in massive casualties on both sides. On April 30th, 1945, as Soviet forces closed in, Adolf Hitler committed suicide in his bunker. This act symbolized the end of Nazi leadership and paved the way for the collapse of their regime. On May 7, 1945, Germany officially surrendered to the Allied forces, an event that marked the end of World War II in Europe. The capitulation was formalized in Reims, France, and later ratified in Berlin on May 8th, a day celebrated as Victory in Europe, VE Day. The surrender of Germany had profound implications for the post-war order in Europe. The continent, ravaged by years of conflict, faced the daunting task of reconstruction and reconciliation. Churchill, witnessing the end of the war in Europe, reflected on the monumental achievement and the sacrifices made to secure victory. He recognized that while the military triumph was significant, the challenges ahead in rebuilding and maintaining peace were equally formidable. The collapse of the Third Reich signaled not only the end of tyranny, but also the beginning of a new geopolitical landscape in which the balance of power would need careful management to prevent future conflicts. The conclusion of the war also prompted Churchill to consider the political reshaping of Europe. The Yalta Conference in February 1945 had laid some groundwork for post-war governance, but the reality of the Soviet occupation of Eastern Europe cast a shadow over prospects for lasting peace. Churchill understood that the defeat of Nazi Germany was but one chapter in the ongoing struggle for democracy and stability on the continent. In summary, the fall of Nazi Germany was the result of fierce and sustained Allied military operations, leading to the capitulation of the Third Reich and the end of World War II in Europe. This victory, while a cause for celebration, also brought to the forefront the complex task of rebuilding a war-torn Europe and addressing the emerging ideological divide between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies. Churchill's reflections on these events underscore the intricate interplay of military triumph and the ensuing political challenges that define this pivotal moment in history. The San Francisco Conference, held from April to June 1945, was a pivotal moment in the creation of a new international order aimed at ensuring lasting peace and stability after the unprecedented devastation of World War II. This landmark event led to the establishment of the United Nations, or UN, an institution designed to foster international cooperation and prevent future conflicts. Churchill's insights into the conference reveal the intricate diplomatic efforts required to bring the vision of the United Nations to fruition. As a seasoned statesman, Churchill understood the necessity of creating an organization capable of mediating disputes and promoting peace, while also recognizing the challenges inherent in balancing the interests of major powers. The conference saw the participation of 50 nations gathered with a shared goal: to draft the UN Charter and lay the foundation for a world free from the scourge of war. Churchill, along with other Allied leaders, played a significant role in shaping the discussions and ensuring that the new body would be both effective and inclusive. His perspective on these diplomatic efforts highlights the importance of collaboration, compromise, and foresight in international relations. At the heart of the post-war order was the principle of collective security, which Churchill believed was essential for maintaining global peace. The major powers, including the United States, the Soviet Union, China, France, and the United Kingdom, were tasked with leading this new world order through their permanent seats on the UN Security Council. Churchill's advocacy for a robust Security Council underscored his recognition of the need for a strong and capable body to address international crises and enforce peace. Churchill's reflections on the San Francisco Conference also emphasized the diplomatic balancing act required to accommodate the varying interests and agendas of different nations. He acknowledged the difficulties in reconciling the desire for national sovereignty with the need for international oversight. Nonetheless, Churchill was optimistic that the establishment of the UN represented a significant step toward a more stable and cooperative world. The role of major powers in shaping the post-war international order was another crucial aspect of the conference. Churchill was acutely aware of the dynamics between the Soviet Union and Western allies, and he strived to ensure that the new organization would be resilient enough to withstand potential ideological rifts. His insights into the delicate negotiations between these powers provide a window into the geopolitical complexities that would soon give rise to the Cold War. In summary, the San Francisco Conference marked a turning point in the quest for a durable and just peace. Churchill's involvement and perspectives underscore the importance of international diplomacy, the challenges of chaos. As the Allied forces celebrated their hard-won victory over Nazi Germany, a new ominous chapter in global politics began to unfold: the onset of the Cold War. Emerging from the ruins of the Second World War, the once united Allies were quickly fracturing into opposing ideological camps, with the Soviet Union and the Western Allies, particularly the United States and Great Britain, at the helm. Churchill, ever the astute statesman, was quick to perceive the early signs of mounting tension between the East and the West. The wartime camaraderie that had bound the Allies together was being overshadowed by mutual distrust and conflicting visions for the post-war world. The ideological divide was stark. The Soviet Union sought to expand its influence and embed communism across Europe and beyond, while the Western Allies championed democratic governance and free market economies. One of the key events that signaled the start of the Cold War was the Yalta Conference in February 1945. Although the meeting had ostensibly been a summit to discuss the reorganization of post-war Europe, differences in opinion and ambition between the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin and his Western counterparts, Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt, became glaringly apparent. The agreements made at Yalta regarding the fate of Poland and other Eastern European countries soon began to unravel, with the Soviet Union tightening its grip over these territories, much to the alarm of the Western Allies. In Churchill's view, the ideological battle lines were clearly drawn. He warned of an iron curtain descending across Europe, famously articulated in his speech at Fulton, Missouri in March 1946. This vivid metaphor captured the division of Europe into two spheres of influence: the Western democracies on one side and the Eastern Bloc under Soviet control on the other. Churchill perceived that this divide would not only shape the geopolitics of Europe, but also have profound implications for global peace and security. Churchill understood the far-reaching consequences of this nascent Cold War. He sensed that the ideological chasm would lead to a prolonged struggle for dominance, marked by events such as the Berlin blockade of 1948-1949, where the Soviet Union attempted to cut off Allied access to West Berlin. This event underscored the Soviet Union's determination to expand its influence and solidify its control over Eastern Europe, even at the risk of exacerbating tensions with the West. Furthermore, Churchill advocated for a robust and united response from the Western Allies to counterbalance the Soviet threat. In his view, alliances and collective security arrangements, such as the creation of NATO in 1949, were essential to contain Soviet expansionism and protect the free world from the spread of totalitarianism. He championed the idea of a fraternal association between English-speaking nations to safeguard democratic values and uphold international stability.